Day 14 of the shutdown. Boy, neither party really seems to be budging much. We have Raquel Martin, who reports for our NewsNation stations around the country with us now. Just sat down with Majority Leader in the Senate, John Thune, on Capitol Hill. So this is a NewsNation exclusive interview. Welcome, Raquel. What do you tell you?
Hey, Connell. Well, I just wrapped up that interview with Senate Majority Leader John Thune. We sat in his office for about get in his head about what exactly the strategy is here. Now, of course, at this point, still no off-ramp for actually ending this shutdown. We know he is going to head to the floor this afternoon to hold the 8th vote on this short-term plan that the Republicans passed in the House. And a bad indicator is the Speaker of the House has already put out a press release indicating that he's going to have a press conference about day 15 of the shutdown already this afternoon before the Senate actually votes. The Senate Majority Leader at this point is saying that the ball is in Democrats' court. He's saying he needs just 5 Democrats to come on board and support Republicans' CR, and then they can negotiate. Now, I asked him specifically, are Republicans in lockstep at this point? What's the communication between the White House and himself, as well as potentially the former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell? And he said they are all in lockstep. So, again, no off-ramp to actually end this shutdown. Of course, this is all over Affordable Care Act subsidies. He left the door open to negotiating this. And when I asked him about that November 1st open enrollment deadline that Democrats are pointing at, this is how he responded to that. Take a listen.
And honestly, I think there is a willingness, and I think there are a lot of members up here on our side of the aisle, as well as on the Democrat side, who want to have that conversation about what we can do to make health care more affordable and more accessible. But you've got to open up the government. Don't take the federal government hostage. And as soon as you are willing to release or free the hostage, then we can start talking about these other things. And to me, it's a very straightforward proposition, and something that happened 13 times when President Biden was in the White House and the Democrats had the majority in the Senate. Same thing. Contrary to things that a view that they've expressed in the past, that this is something they can hijack to try and do other policy on. That's not the way this is designed to work.
Now, of course, we also talked about how the White House is strategizing this, talking about rifts, for instance. The president, of course, saying that he will be targeting Democrat programs. I asked him specifically about layoffs that took place at the Department of Education, specifically gutting special education employees. He says he wasn't familiar with that specific layoff, but he is keeping a close eye on this issue.
All right, Raquel, you know, it's interesting to hear both of those things talked about. Here's what I would say, because you mentioned off-ramps a few minutes ago. The last shutdown, I was just thinking back to this, the real off-ramp there, in many ways, was the slowdowns at the airports, right? Air traffic controllers not showing up for work and that kind of thing. I know subsidies for Obamacare, like you guys talked about, are really being focused on this time, but you wonder if that might play a role this time as well.
That's right. And we've already seen where there is a bipartisan concern when it comes to military pay or law enforcement, that there are actions that the White House is willing to take to ensure that people get paid. So I did ask him, you know, there is a lot of concern. We're already seeing some delays at certain airports, for instance, because of potential staffing shortages with TSA or air traffic controllers. Is there an air safety concern, and could we also see a similar carve out for those employees? He responded saying, you know, what needs to take place is Congress needs to pass this short-term plan. But when I pressed him on this issue, asking, is there a timeline, for instance, in which he would potentially entertain carving out some sort of funding to ensure that air traffic controllers specifically get paid and to ensure that our skies are still safe, he said that this is something he would actually be open to. So we'll have to see, I guess, how long this prolongs for this to be on the table. I know on the House, we've seen Democrats, for instance, bring forward legislation to ensure that TSA workers get paid. Of course, the House has not been in session for now 25 days, and Speaker Johnson has made it abundantly clear he does not plan on bringing the House back. Of course, he is saying this is in the Senate's court, and he wants them to pass this short-term plan.
All right, yeah, like you said, timing is everything here, and if it does drag on, those issues become bigger issues. All right, Raquel Martin, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.